Hi everyone, we're coming to you live from Amsterdam. It's ISE, it's the end of day 2 of this big show last year in Amsterdam. And with me is Oliver Hall from AVNation. We're going to tell you a little bit about our experience here at the show and talk a little bit about what we expect in the upcoming days. So Oliver, you come here from England.
Yep.
It's a little bit of an easier commute than those of us
Just
who
a bit.
come from the US. So is this something that is a cornerstone on your map?
Yeah, so every year we tend to come to ISE. Sometimes it's because Crestron have the awards ceremony and we try and enter that when they have that. But it's always a great place to come to catch up on the latest technology, what the new innovations are happening. And but the other thing is it's a great way to meet, to catch up with guys that you haven't seen for a year. So we pretty much every year we come along. See what's changed.
Any things that you've seen this year in particular that are notable?
We're very much coupled up to what Crestron are doing. So, some of the things on their stand has been quite interesting. So, Crestron Home, things like that. Some of the new MVX stuff, that's all been very interesting. We're showing some stuff actually with Crestron as well in terms of integrations with Crestron Home and heating systems and stuff like that. So, that's been great for us as well, and their HTML5 stuff. But then we also saw a Meridian demonstration with barcode projection. That was absolutely blew me away. So that's been fantastic.
Wonderful. So this is actually a unique show in the fact that residential and commercial kind of come together.
Exactly.
What do you think that adds to the experience?
Well, I think it just allows us to be sort of more rounded. Most of our work is residential, but we do the occasional bit of commercial work, and just knowing what's out there is half the battle. In terms of understanding the options and becoming familiar with different products and ranges and things like that. The other thing is that although we're focused on mainly residential projects, we're also talking to manufacturers about device drivers for products and things like that. So, today's been a great opportunity to talk to some of those manufacturers directly about opportunities for us to help support their products within the Crestron ecosystem as well.
So that's something that's near and dear to me. As we've been on a state of control together, and so what would you say? What's important about having drivers and modules to for manufacturers to know about?
Well, I suppose the obvious benefit of having drivers is that it makes integration much easier for everybody. Some of the great things about a lot of the control systems is that you can go down to the tin almost and talk to devices in their own native language, but it's a lot of work, and not all integrators have that skill set. So integrators like us, we're more from a sort of programming background than an AV background, really. So it gives us an opportunity to build those building blocks that allow other integrators to bring those products into their designs that much easier. And the other thing is that a driver gets developed, it gets tested, it gets used by many people. There's confidence then that driver's going to work, that piece of equipment's going to integrate well, and you go from there.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we've seen in many years past is moving more to that configuration side. Do you think that programming is going to be really winding down and configuration is the future?
I hope not, because that's mainly our bread and butter. But at the same time, we're embracing the whole configurable system as well. Control 4 have obviously been doing it for a long time. Crestron are working their way into that space more and more as well. There's projects right away across the board. There's always going to be custom projects that I think will be our kind of our core sort of principal project. Mm-hmm. But then there's a lot of other projects that we'd like to be involved with that sometimes the budget doesn't stretch itself far enough to have custom programming and stuff like that. So, this is where the configuration system, it works brilliantly. And when you can put together a system as easily as you can with something like Crestron Home, why wouldn't you use it? It's fantastic.
Sure.
It's a great UI, it's a great experience. The product set's growing all the time, so yeah.
So it's basically finding the solution for the need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fitting the right solution.
And so, what are the trends? You mentioned HTML5. Mm-hmm. We've talked also about different ways that modern programming is coming into the control ecosystem. Yeah. What are some of the things that people need to know about? Networking is also obviously a big thing. We've seen a lot of exhibitors, a lot of manufacturers putting more and more on the network.
Yeah.
Is that a skill set that you think is going to be vital to this industry?
I guess AV and IT have been converging for the last decade, I guess. There's no way of getting away from it, whether it's video, audio over the network, just general control systems. There's a much richer experience using TCP kind of protocols than you can perhaps have with the older, slower serial or IR, that kind of stuff. So, IP skills are at the end of the day, if the IP network doesn't work, your control system won't work. So,
Sure.
so yes, you can't avoid that kind of stuff. And then the more traditional programming skills as well, like you say, HTML5 is becoming more important, certainly for Crestron. And there's a raft of tools and learning that you can pick up, and get up to speed and really quickly from that sort of stuff. It's great using tried and tested sort of industry standards and things like that for this kind of stuff, because I think there's been too much kind of inventing things from first principles to this point, and now manufacturers are starting to to start using established protocols and technologies, and it means that things, fingers crossed, will be more reliable and more feature rich as well.
So, one of the things I think this industry finds challenging is to find new talent and bring new people in. Is that going to be the key, to be able to find people from the outside who know this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we have that challenge both from on the installation side of things and on the programming side. I mean, it is difficult. We're in a very fortunate position. We're based in Liverpool. We're right next door to one of the large universities in Liverpool, and we have a really good relationship with their careers department. And through that, actually, through CEDIA are actually sponsoring 10 students from Liverpool University to come over to ISE tomorrow. So I'll be taking them around the stands, showing them what's what, and really hopefully encouraging them into this industry. So so that's kind of, I'm hoping, you never know, maybe our next recruit will be one of those guys. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you plan on showing them? What do you think is important that everybody must see at the show?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's CEDIA that's kind of given us this sort of sponsorship opportunity. So I was going to focus mainly on the residential stuff. So we're going to see some of the bigger manufacturers, Crestron, Sony. We're going to go and see the Trinov demo. We're going to see the Meridian demo as well, which is the one I mentioned before. That's absolutely fantastic. So hopefully things that'll get them excited about the industry and make them think about this as a career option.
Sure.
As opposed to perhaps the more traditional things like web development or databases, that kind of stuff.
Do you think that the people need to appreciate AV in order to be successful here?
I hope not. I mean, I very much come from an IT programming background. So, I mean, I didn't really start off in AV. I sort of had, obviously, I guess I was interested in it, and I've always tried to build, good audiovisual solutions at home. But I mean, I think a lot of that stuff is things you can learn. You don't necessarily need to know about, projector calibration to do a good job at doing the integration work. So I think, there's obviously different skill sets, whether you're an IT person or a programmer or a dyed-in-the-wool, AV kind of audio guy or something like that. There's a whole different raft of opportunities there. But hopefully there'll be something for these guys that they'll enjoy. They're all coming from software engineering or electrical engineering kind of faculties. So, I think there'll be something here to interest them. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a great opportunity for them to make a few contacts as well because they're all going to be in the final year.
There you go.
They can pick up a few business cards and they've got the foot in the door straight away. It's a great opportunity.
So you mentioned networking earlier.
Yep.
What are some ways that you think you would recommend for people to get more involved and make those types of contacts? Like you and I have been doing this for some time.
Yeah. I guess social media is the natural place to start. Get out there. But again, because we're quite sort of Crestron centric, I understand how that kind of thing works more so than perhaps other manufacturers. But things like Crestron Masters, which is an annual thing where programmers from the Crestron world all get together, that's a great opportunity for meeting up. And because of the people I've met through that, I bump into them here as well, and it's an enormous show. It's amazing how many people you just come and tap you on the shoulder and say hello, and you have a quick catch up, and it's great because you hear the nuts and bolts of the experiences they're having as well, the good and the bad, and that's the kind of information we all need to make sure that we avoid those kind of pitfalls on our own projects. So it's a great community that, although we're all competition, everyone's still very friendly and helps each other out. It's great.
I would say very, very few of us, speaking from somebody in a similar position, consider ourselves competition, more so brethren.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I know my partner Rich Ragosa at State of Control, has introduced us. Yes. So we, he is fairly involved in the Facebook groups and gets his name around that way. What do you think, or do you find challenges between being on the other side of the pond, let's say?
I don't know. I think I think the more you put yourself out there, the more projects that you can show that maybe are a little bit different. You know, it's just a case of building momentum and getting yourself noticed. I mean, our Twitter followers is just gradually creeping up all the time, which is great. You know, I'd love it to be in the tens of thousands, but you know, it just happens over time. I think it's a sort of an evolutionary process. But I don't think there's anything, in a nice way, social media kind of obliviates all of those kind of geographic differences. I mean, you know,
Sure.
like I say, we've spoken online and done podcasts together, and you know, and there's no geographical reason why that should take place. You know, it's just we've obviously come across each other's radar.
And it's funny because it's really, if you think about it, is not the most social group.
No.
But yet we find comfort in each other.
Yeah. You know, well, I guess we've all got shared experiences as well, and we can all share our war stories and stuff like that. So no, it's great.
So you mentioned about the stuff that you're particularly working on. Share a little bit about why you went in that direction. I know that you build different tools and kind of doing things almost to support other programmers.
Oh, okay, right. So as well as, so I mean, I'm always trying to make sure that Ultimation have got sort of different lines of business going, so that, you know, we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. So, I mean, we started off doing the more traditional Crestron sort of residential projects. When I was in the CSP program, we did some outsourced program for other people as well. And then we started moving into module development as well. So that's another thing that sort of got going. But then one of the things I'm very keen on is to build tools that help other programmers. So, and again, you know, this is very much, it's a niche area. You know, we're still talking about Crestron programmers. But so sort of anything that we can do that kind of improves the workflow, that allows you to, you know, iterate through the kind of programming and test and deploy kind of cycle that much faster. That's the kind of thing that sort of fires a light bulb in my head. So we've written a piece of software called Simplified, which is really a sort of companion product to the traditional programming tools that Crestron programmers use. And it just sits alongside, it kind of monitors the program that you're working on. So you're working in Crestron tools, our product sits alongside that and gives you little notices when things aren't quite right, or maybe little things that don't look a little suspicious, and think that kind of thing.
Tap you on the shoulder.
Yeah. Basically, effectively, it's somebody standing over your shoulder saying you've not hooked that thing up, or you need to change your spelling on that. I mean, we do. Some things are logical errors. Some things are more sort of more standards kind of thing. So, you know, if your team have a particular way of formatting, you know, signal names, say, then we have a template that you can configure to your own style, and it'll go through your program and tell you, you know, you've done X number of signal names that don't conform to that template, sort of thing.
Wow.
So, you know, they don't change the functionality of the program, but if you want, if you've got OCD, then
it's best practices.
Well,
let's call it.
Yeah, all right then. yeah. So, you know, we just try and help people kind of conform to standards and things, because I'm also very keen. You know, I guess Crestron programming or integration programming in general is quite a solitary kind of, it can be quite a lonely sort of process. You know, people tend to work on their own, not often in larger programming teams and things like that. So, you know, I'm trying to kind of add tools into that mix that allow people to work together a bit more, and perhaps make it easier to pass programs on, so you can work in a more sort of team-based environment.
Sure.
So,
raising the bar, basically.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. Ultimately, that's the aim. I mean, we did actually add, you should say that, we added in almost like a scoring mechanism. So it's a kind of, it's very much our kind of feeling on it's not a proper score. So I'm not suggesting that we are grading anyone's program.
Sure.
But it does go through and it points out certain things, and it will basically start you off at 100% effectively, and it'll knock a few points off for things that aren't perhaps quite right. So, you know, if you leave symbols in programs that aren't commented, things like that, it'll knock a few points off. So, you know, if you always want to aim for that 100%, then, you know,
that would be really good for a program, for like a manager of programmers.
Exactly. So that's where we're pitching that. We're sort of suggesting to people writing, consultants writing sort of, you know, sort of specifications and things like that. They can sort of say, you know, it doesn't have to be across the board, but they could say, you know, your program has to conform to this kind of structural layout and stuff like that. And then that tool will give you a certificate at the end of it. So, and like you say, raise the bar, hopefully.
Wonderful. So next year, we're saying goodbye to Amsterdam and heading to Barcelona. Give us
Hopefully
a
a bit
little bit of a preview for those of us who are not ready for it or don't know what to expect.
I'm no Barcelona expert.
Okay.
There's Las Ramblas.
But you will be you will be attending.
I'll be there. Yeah, I think so. We'll be there. I'm looking forward to a change, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been to Amsterdam. Well, particularly with Crestron Masters being in Amsterdam for so many years as well. I mean, they've moved to Madrid now, but there's 2 trips to Amsterdam every year. So I feel like I've done Amsterdam now, so I'm quite looking forward to it.
So now it's Madrid and Barcelona for you.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
Soon you'll come to the US.
Yeah, well, I will. Yeah, I'd love to actually. Yeah.
So for those of that are listening or watching that don't know you, how can they get in touch with you?
So the website is www.ultimation.com, which is Ultimation with an A, which throws a few people. We're on Twitter, which is just @Ultimation, or the more technical sort of orientated stuff is Ultimation @Ultimation Tech. So
wonderful. And you've been on a State of Control several times, so that's good. But how did they reach you?
No, yes, that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's been great.
Good.
Oh,
and any other contact information for you?
So oliver.hall@ultimation.com is my personal email address. So if anyone wants to be bothered to send me an email, that'd be great.
Wonderful. And I'm Steve Greenblatt. My company's Control Concepts. You can reach us at controlconcepts.net. But more importantly, visit AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. For more information about ISE, plenty of coverage of interviews with exhibitors and all the happenings here at the show, and as well as the family of podcasts, including AV Week, Resi Week, and A State of Control. Those are the ones that I listen to at least. So that's it for our day 2 wrap-up of ISE 2020.